right, so part 4, the last part of this lecture, is going to be really looking, going to be less of me talking and more of someone else talking here. So examining structure and agency here through an example. After you review this slide here, you're going to watch a TED Talk by Debbie Sterling, who's the CEO of GoldieBlox. And she's going to talk about her company, GoldieBlox, and how she, and her whole story involved with that. I've also included a couple more links about GoldieBlox and a funny commercial they made back, but also how they got sued by the Beastie Boys. So that'll be optional links to check out. That'll be on Sakai. So I wanted to cover a couple of concepts before you watch Debbie's story here. First of all, in terms of the idea of the glass ceiling. So the glass ceiling is this invisible limit on women's climb up the occupational ladder. So women, and I mean, I'm speaking to all of you, but for women who are interested in going into male-dominated fields, you'll likely have a harder time. As you'll see, Debbie really struggled. You'll probably be passed up for promotions when you negotiate for a salary raise, which women are less likely to do because of stereotypical messages that make it harder for women to ask. But when you do try to negotiate for a salary raise, you'll be less likely to get it partially because women are socialized to be passive, happy with what they have, and have lower self-confidence. You might be discouraged from getting pregnant on the job. You might hit this glass ceiling. And so these things might happen to you. And I hope if they do, you remember this lecture and you press forward. You also, women are more likely to come home after a hard day of work and accomplish the second shift. Now, I know it's not always women, and you might be thinking like, hold up, my dad did that. You're saying that all women are doing this. No, I'm not saying that all women are doing this. But when we look at the aggregate, when we look at what is going on, we're more likely to see this as a women's burden. So the second shift means housework and childcare that happen in addition to people, but usually women's paid labor. So this is the idea that you work your shift at work, you come home, you have to take care of kids, you have to take care of child work. In sociology, we also talk about the third shift as being emotional labor, the emotion work that folks have to do. And then there's also the fourth shift, which is the work that happens at night. But I won't go into all that. Women might also experience what Rosebeth Kanter coined as tokenism. So this means that people in a numerical minority experience more visibility, stereotyping, and isolation in the workplace. And so Kanter studied women in male-dominated fields, just like you'll see Debbie Sterling. But this has also been applied to racial minorities in white-dominated spaces. So we'll come back to this idea next week too. Folks in these spaces, if they are in a numerical minority, whether it's gender, sex, gender or race, or another piece of your identity, they are more visible, literally seen more easily picked out of the crowd because they look different. They can't blend in as easily. They're more likely to be stereotyped. They're seen to represent their group when they make mistakes. So you made a mistake, your whole group, whatever that piece of identity it's attributed to the group. And then when they're successful, they're more likely to be seen as exceptional, different from their group. And then they experience more isolation because, as we learned, people are more likely to have networks of people who are more similar to them. So if you are with a whole bunch of people who are different than you, then you're more likely to experience isolation from those folks. So now what I want you to do is to go to the link with the TED Talk. It'll be on Sakai, 17 minutes. And I want you to listen to Debbie's story, and I want you to think about structure and agency in her story. In the PowerPoint slides, the final slide, I've listed some ideas there. If you're feeling kind of lost, you're not really sure what the answers are, what you should have been getting out of that, I've got some ideas linked there so you can compare those with yours. After you've finished reviewing Debbie's story, you'll be done with this lecture.